So eventually what happens is that the government is the most successful group of gangsters.
How was your day?
It was a day. One of those for sure, you know? It was good.
I saw some discontent on the Book of Faces.
Oh, I'm just so fucking mad at them. And the issue is I like them, and that's why I take it personally when they fuck up like this. And like it's not what they said and like yada yada yada, freedom of speech. This is like everyone else's movement too. So you don't get to just make these outrageous statements and not consider like other people's feelings. And like if the core principles are don't hurt people, don't take their stuff, you're stealing their movement and you're hurting their feelings. So how is that libertarianism? And it's sure. Like, I don't know how to explain that to them without hitting them in the fucking head sometimes, because like just a little percussive maintenance, maybe they'd get it. But it's this movement needs an ego death before anything's going to change, because the issue is people come, but they bring not only their politics but their insecurities with them, and then now we have to navigate both to like get them to see the light, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it's because liberty, I think, is uncomfortable for most, because they don't really understand like liberty doesn't just mean what I get to do. It also means having respect for what other people get to do too. You know, and like there's that kind of uncomfortability when people first enter the ring of libertarianism, where they have to kind of learn that. And some people are very open to it. I mean, you know, and they can just go with the flow, but some people it's trial by fire, you know, and they don't make it.
What people don't realize is freedom means sometimes people are going to do things that you think sucks.
Yep. And
you just like don't associate with those people. Yes, you don't get to corral them into the way that you want them to live their lives. And that's the uncomfortable part, because it's like, well, what about when they don't do things I like? Ignore it. You got to ignore it. Like a rise above, where like to everything you knew about the system before, throw it away. Like we're starting new from scratch, ground up. And from the ashes, we will build a better nation. But stop picking up this rubble and trying to fit it back into buildings, because it's not going to go, babe. It's over.
It is. And honestly, it's a bad show for us overall. You know, it really is.
It's absolutely selfish. But then like Michael wants to meet me, and it's like, I don't want to help you, dude. Like I tried it and it bit me in the ass 18 hours later. Like holy the turnaround on my regret was like fucking whiplash immediately. And I think that's why I'm so sad about the movie, because like the immediate just whiplash of like the rose-colored glasses are gone, because I went 0 to 60 immediately. Like as soon as I hopped on this, like I hit the ground running, you know. And then you run past all the like toxics, like we'll get that later, or they'll figure that out. And like now you can finally slow down, like assess where you are and like where you've come. And it's just like, wait a minute, I devoted all this time to people who can't even like talk respectfully to each other. Like if you can't articulate your platform without resorting to insults and just petty bullshit, you don't believe in what you're saying.
Exactly.
At all. Like,
and there's a difference between, you know, holding somebody accountable and just straight up being rude. You know, there's an entire difference. You can say, hey, this person has terrible policies, let me point them out. That's not being ridiculous, but saying, you know, picking apart somebody's identity or anything of all, you know, like something personal about that person, and then, you know, going after that instead of their political standing, it just gets petty, you know, overall.
Even that, like the purpose also, like like how many times do we tear people down just because we would rather die than see them specifically succeed? And it's like, if you're going to hold someone accountable, do it from love of the movement and of that person, not because fuck this guy in particular. And like, that's how we act when someone's going to walk on stage in a Speedo to make somebody else look bad. And it's like, you look awful. You made us all look awful.
Yeah.
And like, what really upsets me about what the me said is another project lost donors because of it. And like, how selfish is that? Look what you've done. and like they can't even acknowledge it.
To be honest, I don't even think I saw what they said. I just saw your reaction. So what did they say? What did they say?
Do you remember that their response, or what did they say that made me upset?
What did they say?
They compared the vaccination cards to the Holocaust yellow stars.
Oh, that was the Mises Caucus? That was part of that?
That was them. And then Seth Rogen retweeted it.
Okay.
And then the Forbes picked it up.
Sure.
And you wonder why they think we're fucking racist. But even like, they're right. That's like an appropriate analogy. It's not appropriate. It makes sense.
Sure.
But like, we're talking about America. So like, you could have worded that so much better. Yeah. Also, like, no one in that party's Jewish. So like, very weird. Also, the Mises is known for their Nazis. So why the fuck are you bringing in Hitler? Like, you're known for your members who are Nazis.
Yeah.
Don't talk to me about the Holocaust, baby girl. But then like, what bothered me is I read it, and then I thought of 4 different memes and 10 different statements that would have been funny and better received. And it's like, if you just put in minimal effort, that could have been avoided entirely.
A better message.
But the issue is, this movement has 3 kinds of people. Those who want change, those who want credit, and those that just want likes on the internet. And they're all fighting for the spotlight. And I don't know how to explain. If you all help each other, everyone gets what they want. Everybody gets what they want.
I know. Actually, I said this when I was talking to Karen. We talk about this all the time. The different caucuses that even exist. Like the pragmatic caucus is like really appealing to the normies out there. And then you have the radical caucus, which actually carries the most principled libertarian message. And the Mises caucus has been the best at getting membership and donation. If those three caucuses and all the little caucuses that exist around them, but if those 3 caucuses in particular work together, we'd have one hell of a movement, politically. Instead of fighting and cannibalizing each other, isn't that weird?
You mean to tell me that if we work together and move as a unit, we could be successful?
I know, isn't that crazy? It works in so many other applications. You'd think.
No, that's tribalism. That's tribalism. We can't do that. I'm just going to hang out in my circle jerk on the internet.
Yeah, and that's not tribalism.
Oh my God. A bunch of men getting together to think the same, nothing good comes of it. Nothing good comes of it.
It's true. Actually, I use the lunchroom analogy all the time. Caucuses are like that. You come into a lunchroom in high school and there's a bunch of different, tables set up. You find which one fits best with you and you kind of sit there for a while. And if you're an open-minded person, you'll maybe go join a couple of other tables and, meet some new people. But if you're more of a vulnerable, insecure person, you kind of stick with the same table all the time and you never really leave it, and then it becomes kind of your little echo chamber and drama center, and yeah.
My goal for the LP is for them to graduate high school. Yeah. Because holy shit, are you guys stuck? As someone fresh out of it, I feel right at home. I feel right at home. Just like, when's math class? I'm gonna fuck up Tina when I see her in my locker. Like, that's
awesome.
It's exhausting. It's exhausting. And like, there are moments when I first started, I think like 3 months in, I thought it was fun and funny because like I would get in there too and just rough you guys up, just like I miss doing that and being like a kid again. But now it's like, you hear about riots in prisons because they're not getting enough food, and you hear about kids in cages, and you hear about the astronomical tax rate and rent's too expensive and like all these things. And like, what right do I have to sit pretty in my fucking Denver apartment while people are suffering, while I'm antagonizing, while we're the nation's best shot at anything.
Only shot, honestly.
The only shot. No one else is trying.
No, not legitimate.
And this is what I have to offer the world. And it's like, that's fucking embarrassing to even like recruit somebody and then you tell them to look into it and the first thing that comes up is an asshole in a green Speedo. Like, are you fucking serious?
I know.
That is so selfish. It's childish. We
need to change that so much.
Well, I think maybe this is where the placement where you can start plugging personal websites and with real literature, like Libertarian state, chairs, their press releases and stuff like that. Maybe you could do that instead of sending them to Google.
Well, yeah, and decentralizing the conversation. That's a really great point. We always talk about how the Libertarian Party itself just needs to decentralize, because centralization doesn't work, and that's what we fight against. So why do we implement it in our own party? In a sense, there should be an LNC and there should be a top, structure, but it should be the smallest, least powerful part of the entire party. All the power should reside in the states and the local activists, where the actual grassroots efforts are taking place. And, in those conversations, instead of directing people, necessarily go to Google and you should direct them to your local state chairs and your local state affiliates and, things like that.
But yeah, because we're always doing stuff, volunteering,
we are.
connect with local affiliates and stuff like that. But it is really hard when everybody is on social media. So where do you go to talk to people on social media? And then what did 2020 do? Push everybody home, shove them in there. They boosted up 5G. Everybody's on the internet. So where do you, and then they made connecting with people personally illegal. So it was like, how do you meet people? Like, you have to meet them on the, so yes, people are suffering and it sucks. And we have to figure out how to communicate with our communities to stop that suffering, but our way is social media. So then it's like, how do we direct them to better references of what libertarianism is, what proper radical anarchy is, what is the way, without pointing towards
guys in speedos and
yeah.
And
here's the thing. When you preach libertarianism, they don't go research it immediately. It just sits in their head, and then they go talk to their friends, and then their friends will be like, oh, I heard about them. Here's this, this, and this. So even if you do direct them,
it's true.
What sense does that make? But let's not pretend that our state affiliates aren't as fucked up as the national, okay?
Some of them are changing.
Some of them are changing, but not as fast as the nation's getting bad.
That's true.
But also, there's an African proverb: be wary of a naked man that offers you a shirt.
Sure.
So if I direct people and tell them the way you're living is hurting you, you're not doing very well, eating each other up is not the way, the people are not your enemy, it's the government, and I direct them to my party, and all we do is beat each other up and treat each other like the enemy and be mean and try to subjugate, what? I'm naked offering you a shirt. I'm trying, it doesn't make sense.
No.
And if we can't heal our own nation and bring people together, how do we expect to expand that out to people who all of their lives have lived in the dark? And imagine coming into light for the first time, your eyes are hurting, it's so much information, and now you're getting yelled at because you don't perfectly fit the mold anymore. It's
right.
Until we can weed out the toxic within our party, we have no ground to stand on in telling people that they should change how they live.
And I honestly think too, I 1,000% agree with you. The only way we can actually bring anybody in the country together is by uniting our own movement and showing people by example. And I think that it starts by actually standing up against and holding these people, publicly accountable too, and not, like you said, not associating with them, in a sense, and not just letting it go, and, making sure that people understand. Like you even said, the reference they were making could be applied if they would have done it in the right context. But the way they went about it was so, abrasive that it didn't in any way, shape, or form actually achieve what they were trying to accomplish.
If you have to release a statement after your statement, it wasn't a good statement.
Yeah, and I think part of it might be a fault of the National Party too, in the fact that they've been so weak on this topic that the state parties and a lot of these caucuses feel like they have to almost be extra to show people hey, libertarians actually aren't against the lockdowns, and we aren't against the, government mandates of any sort. And, even though, we're for private properties, there gets to be a little bit of a gray area if you're a public business, if you're a public operating business, to start demanding and mandating things no different than a government, entity would. There are some things that when it comes down to, that we can start having conversations, but there needs to be more actual activism taking place, I feel like, in the public light by the Libertarian Party, because the movement actually is very active. There's an insane amount of people like you and us and many people we see on social media that are forming organizations, starting podcasts, forming little, everything you name it, from the ground up. So it's the movement's there. The party needs to get on board with it. And I think a big part of it, like you said, is kind of kicking off some of that toxicity so that more people feel at home here, and even feel like this is a movement they can be backed by.
Well, I mean, can I get a little deep here and say, I think the country has a mental health issue?
That's true.
I mean,
you think?
So I think in a lot of ways, it runs really deep with everybody. Like everybody's like unchecked, unsure how to deal with emotions and communicate properly and love one another and have that connection, because it's all so foreign. We've been pushed and prodded to separate and
compartmentalize.
Exactly. And be angry with each other. Well, you don't do this, and well, you don't do that, and your kids are homeschooled and you go to public school and you vaccinate, but you don't vaccinate. And like, you're Christian, but you're Jewish. Like, I don't know, like everybody's fighting over something. So I think a lot of it is that everybody doesn't really know what to do with themselves.
Yeah.
And so they're just like attack, because they're all under attack internally, because they just don't know.
That's kind of why I love the Libertarian movement, is because we are such a diverse group of people. You are so different than we are. We didn't live the life you live. You haven't lived the life. I've never been to Colorado even. And you've probably never been to Wisconsin. I don't know. So, we don't even have any clue, in a sense of what each other's life has been like, but we can literally come to this place of agreement in the mutual respect for each other's life in a way that other political beliefs, other movements don't really have that cohesive respect for each other at the base level, and maybe that's what we can really start pushing to help brighten out the darkness that it does reside in our party, is like, we have to have that mutual respect for each other's lifestyle. If you don't, then you're not a libertarian. That's really what it comes down to.
I think there's a misconception that we think as soon as libertarians are in office, things will be different. And like that, there's no way. There's just no way. It will start at the city and county level.
Yes.
You have to go out into your community and show that you don't need a big overarching governmental system to make sure people get clothed and there's no sickness and mental health and things like that. You have to show people that. And I feel like I worry that too many people in this movement are waiting for somebody to do that, to like kick it off. And it's like, if I wanted to do it, I would have done it by now, right? Like, who are we waiting for to prove that we're right? But then beyond that, we are all fighting our own revolution. And like you said, we're so different. Like, how I view education is completely different because I don't have kids. So like, why do I got to pay for it? Sure. Whereas you might think, I don't want the government indoctrinating my kids, Mm-hmm. It's like a different perspective, but we're at the same position of, I don't want the government to do it. Yeah. And how that translates is going to be different in Colorado than it will be in Wisconsin, because we have different needs and like different the climate would change it, just like there are things and factors. And like, that's why it has to be local, because we need to bring back that sense of community, because an overarching government system takes away responsibility, but also takes away your need to like take care of somebody else. And like, now you get to be selfish because the government got some, and how many times do we say, I'm not going to donate because I pay my taxes? Well, babe, we pay taxes out the ass and there's still homeless people. But the same side of that coin is there are foundations and charities coming out of our ears and there's still homeless people. So clearly there's no solution and everyone just wants to keep pushing what they're doing. Mm-hmm. We have to put our money where our mouth is. Yes. Because who are we waiting for?
Exactly. I know. And it gets frustrating because there are a few people that'll step up, like start building tiny homes for homeless people. And then the local government makes it illegal. So,
perfect. That's so perfect. You know why? Because people will say libertarians are building tiny homes for homeless people, and then the government comes and knocks them down. Like, don't they want the people? Why do I pay my taxes even not to feed and clothe and house the homeless? Like, why is the government doing this? Wow, maybe the government's not on our side.
Exactly.
So if you go out to feed the homeless, you have to go out because in your heart and soul, you don't want homeless people to be hungry. Yeah. Not for the recognition, not for the clout. You have to do that, and you 100%. Do it every day. And every time the government stops you, the government takes away their food, you give it back again, because then a pattern of behavior will be established. Yes. And people won't associate us with this fucked up tweet on the internet. They'll associate you with what they've seen you do in their community.
Yeah. Yes. And I mean, there is a level where you don't want the clout, but there is a level of where you do want to be seen so people know you're doing it, so that other people rise up and do it too. Because that's something we've seen, like when we post, like we're gonna, do something, when we started our local affiliate, for instance, it was just the two of us. And then, like a few people heard, and then they're like, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing over there? And then now we got like a congressman who wants to run in our local backyard because of our affiliate, So like, it's not for the recognition as much as it is lighting that torch in the darkness, so that anybody else who's kind of wandering around can also see you're there, so that they can light their torch too, or maybe find their way over to you and make a brighter torch, like.
Absolutely. So, but if no one saw that post, would you have still been out there?
Yes.
Then you're doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if you stop doing it as soon as somebody likes, comments, shares, then you were there for, it's all about intent and what's in your heart. And if you're going to do it for just for the that's not your revolution. No. And find something else, You don't have to feed the homeless.
There's a lot of internet culture out there you can join into. You don't need politics to be yours.
Even there's so much to get into, know? And I think this social media culture has turned us into all eyes on me, and that's unfortunate. And it's, how do we break down those walls and remind people that we need people? And that's why you don't need the government to tell you not to fuck them over. You're not going to fuck them over, because that's my neighbor and I need them.
You need yourself and your neighbors. That's all you need. You need your community.
That's it. Because think about all the great things that America has done. No one ever says thank God the government was there. Wow, they really pulled. It's always oh my God, the community really came together, and look at this awesome person that did it. But when the government fucks up, we always blame the government. So keep that in mind, that the government fucks up and we blame them. But when the nation does something great, we thank each other.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. You don't say thank the American government.
No, it's wow, Paul, thanks. It came through. Thanks, Mary Sue.
Really needed that truck. Thanks for borrowing it to me.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's just reaching out and helping. And that's one of the, that's why I love voluntarism over libertarianism, because I feel like voluntarism is the spirit of getting out into your community, leading by example, helping people out, growing those things that actually are sustainable and help grow liberty internally first, because we actually came kind of from a place of liberty personally before we came politically. And I think it's a lot more genuine when you realize it on a personal level sometimes, when you live it in your lifestyle, and it's not just something that you're doing because it's political, or whatever. Like we've said before, libertarianism to us is kind of like a mutual respect, even for the way we regard other people's relationships, in our life, our friends and our family members, each other, a mutual respect for, everything. So,
absolutely.
But yeah, so I don't know. Those are the conversations.
Doesn't just have live sports; it's a lifestyle.
Oh my God. So yeah, those are kind of the conversations that are really good to start having with people, is to help them understand that even the liberty movement at a core level thrives off of these ideologies. I think somewhere along the line, it kind of either got lost, or maybe it never was designed this way, and it's something that's kind of just metastasized over time in it. Because I've kind of learned that the Libertarian Party itself didn't really start with a lot of these radical core principles. A lot of it was just fuck the government. They're really messing up our life, and this sucks. And they're no longer constitutionally oriented, and we need to do something different. And now people are more along the lines in the libertarian movement, individuality is the core principle almost now, you know, more than anything else. And I feel like that's that natural progression towards anarchy almost, in a sense, you know, that we all have taken in one way or another, you know, because like even, you know, some of the most moderate, like normie libertarians have anarchist beliefs in some form or fashion compared to the mainstream public. You know,
I skipped anarchy, went straight to nihilism in this movement. Just like
sure.
went to libertarian to nihilist, like nothing's gonna change.
Everything's terrible. The world is doomed.
You might as well just lay down and die. And for like a little bit I did that, but then you get tired of waiting. So you might as well go down fighting, you know?
It is. That's the thing. You have to go down
and
swinging.
That's my anarchy.
I've been practicing my right hook.
Yeah, exactly. Working out.
We are blessed to have you on our team.
We truly are.
We are.
Yes.
You guys are fierce. I love you guys. Like I love every time you make the best posts, you know, and like it's people like you that keep me going. Because it's like it's toxic.
It's really funny because it's people like you that keeps me going. So
see, we need each other.
Absolutely,
we need each other. We're neighbors, we're family, and like that's why I adore the me so much. I love the caucuses, even though like I hate the party. I think it's so toxic. Like, I'm over them. But like you don't get to pick your family. That's one thing like I've learned. You don't. Yeah. So now like these are the people I have, and I love them as they are. So like we have to be willing to meet people within our movement where they are so that we may grow them to where they need to be and expect the same in return. Like I've made so many mistakes, especially I've made posts that like I thought were right, especially my Rush Limbaugh one when I was glad he was dead. And like I wholeheartedly believed in that.
Yeah.
But I recognize how that reflects on the movement that I carry,
right,
and the people around me, you know, and it's that personal responsibility as leaders, as voices, as people working towards the same goal that I share this movement with so many people. So even though I feel that I'm right and justified to say fuck Rush Limbaugh, there's a responsibility that I have to take that I don't always get to do what I want.
Yes,
even though I can, and that's freedom. That's personal responsibility. And if we can foster that within ourselves, within our culture, our community, within our caucuses, then we can come together and push this out to America. And there'll already be a template, and everyone that they come across within our movement will be well-versed and able to accept them with open arms. And we can fast track their movement into ours.
Absolutely. Bring them from the ground up. That's beautiful. And I think that we really can do it. And honestly, I love your approach because it needs to be called out. The darkness needs to be brought to the light so that they can understand why they are residing in the darkness, you know, because sometimes these people have very pure intentions for their beliefs and their the way of understanding. It comes from a place mostly of upbringing, mostly of environment, you know, it's very natural, but they need to be helped kind of eased into the understanding of why it can be taken the wrong way and why sometimes their words can have a greater impact than what they mean, I guess is what I'm really coming down to.
Think before you speak.
Exactly. You know, actually I recently went through, I had shared a post, one of my friends had posted of a homosexual gentleman who had been beaten in Wyoming, I think it was back in the 90s. And it was this really big national story, and the anniversary of it had come back around. So I shared it to my Door Counting for Liberty page. And one of the local libertarians actually kind of called me out because I didn't do enough research on the fact that the story was actually hijacked by the government at the time to be used to pass through a number of anti-discrimination legislation that ended up being mostly crony and not actually doing anything that it said it was going to.
Oh my God, like, the government did that?
Yeah, oh wow.
Oh my God. Someone should do something about them.
Almost like toxic. They go by the same playbook every time.
I'm kind of bored of the government. Ugh.
I know, right? It's like I've seen this rerun now for like, I don't know, my entire life. So anyway, I made another post. I reshared the information he provided me that, you know, explained everything. But then I also reiterated that I had originally shared it because I wanted to expose how hatred for anybody for any reason can lead humans to doing some of the worst things that are just unimaginable. So like, it's not a matter even of what the government did to this story. It's a matter of sharing the anniversary of this poor guy who, regardless of whatever his story was used for, went through a tremendously terrible event before his death for people that just hated him, you know, and that was it. Yeah. And that's what hatred leads to. You know, we can't go into everything with all this hatred and anger and angst all the time. We have to go into it with love and understanding and acceptance. And like you said, meeting people where they are. You know, that was one of the most beautiful things of Jo Jorgensen, to be honest. Like, she said that all the time. We have to meet people where they are. We have to talk to the soccer moms. We have to go out there and communicate in the way people receive the message. We can't just shove the message down the throat the way we want them to understand it, you know?
Exactly. Absolutely. But then also, nobody likes to be told that they're wrong. Nobody likes to be told what to do.
Yeah.
So if we could phrase our message in a way that they would come to the conclusions themselves, because freedom is natural. Like libertarian, it's just a natural thing. Like, you know what, you're right. I can do this by myself, and I do this shit by myself every day. Like, wow, think of all the choices I've just made with no help for daddy government. And you let them come on this journey, and like, one, please do it because it's beautiful to watch. It's so gorgeous to watch somebody, like the wheels turning in their head, and it's like, yes. And then you get to be like, I don't even know, but you get to be their person, like the one that brought them in. And like, that's your contribution to the movement. I can take away the pain.
Yes, do it.
That's all I know of that song.
Isn't that what everybody knows of that song? I think the next one's I Can Be With You Forever, maybe. I don't know. But, you know, and honestly, too, I love it because then they geek out to you, you know, and then they're the one that comes to you and they're like, hey, did you see this? And I'm like, yes, I did. That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, they'll send you like memes that they've made. No, they'll start making their own memes. They'll start like their own initiative. They'll start like, hey, look what I did over here. And it's like, oh my God, babe, all I did was plant a seed and look how you've blossomed. So plant seeds, let them come to their own conclusion. You don't got to bring up the Holocaust. Like, people know that that's awful, okay? But make them think. They haven't used their brain in so long. Don't fault them. It's not their fault. They went to public school. Ugh, look what that did. Okay, it's not their fault. They're doing their best, and they so desperately don't want to bother you, but they don't know what to do. And do any of us? So just like, have a little fun and compassion and love, because we beat each other. It's so miserable to be alive in general. Like, I've been doing it for 22 years and I've liked maybe 8 of it. Okay. So
it gets a little better when you get a little older. I promise. I'm 31, 33. Like, it gets a little better. It's starting to get a little
got real
better.
good when I could drink. Yeah, and that just like took everything away.
Took the edge off.
Yeah, it was just like, oh, okay, I get why adults like live this long. They just like have a drink at the end of the day. But I don't remember what my point was. No, yeah, it sucks. It sucks to be alive. We all have that in common. If nothing, we have all suffered at one point in our life. You know, like we get what it's like to struggle.
Yes.
So just like, I'm willing to bet you have something in common with everybody. And like, to bring it back to that high school analogy, like when I was in high school, I sat at every table because it didn't matter to me. I thought that was stupid. And it's just like boring. And a lot of them were boring, but like you can bring a little spice and flavor because you have so much to offer that they didn't think about. And it's like, just break past that bubble. And sure, it's scary, but also we have to be willing to forgive in this movement, you know? And like,
you learn new things that way too, to be honest.
You learn new things.
When you forgive and you allow conversations that you otherwise were preventing with your preconceptions, you start to actually maybe learn some new things. And what I like too is it helps me challenge my own beliefs. You know, to test them against other people who disagree in certain ways. It helps me actually test how strongly do I believe in this, and you know, how much do I understand of it. So
absolutely. But even on the other side, when we forgive, we allow that person room to grow.
Sure.
You know, instead of just like, you did this wrong, this wrong, this wrong, and this is everything I hate about you. You're like, you know what? This is what I want to help you with. These are like some pressure points that I feel like if we alleviate, and then they feel vulnerable enough to want to fucking try, you know, because who wants to try to be better for somebody that's always tearing them down?
That's
so
true.
If we can forgive in this movement, we give everyone a second chance. And that's what this movement needs right now. Most of all, if we're going to save anybody, we need a clean slate second chance.
Yeah. I agree. And honestly, on a whole, for our entire movement, we should all have like a Libertarian national powwow where everybody just sits down. We get a bunch of joints.
Kumbaya.
Some guitars rolling. You know, it'll be good. It'll be fine.
Yeah. We all just need to smoke a blunt together, you know?
100%.
And then that's what
Reno 2022. That's where it's at, right? Reno?
Before we write our bylaws, like we just all smoke a fat blunt and we're just like, all right, babe, let's get it together.
Yeah. Why are we even writing bylaws? Aren't we libertarians?
Like,
you know,
I don't believe in paper actually. So can we skip this part?
Can't we just get down to the part where we just like freedom and love? Isn't that
This is like, we got halfway done, but now we're hungry. We ordered 200 pizzas. Sorry.
Cat hate.
There's only 2 bylaws got halfway done.
Yeah. Hey, don't hurt people. Don't take their stuff. Only 2 bylaws needed, right?
Nailed it. All right, that's it. We start our own party. Those are the bylaws.
There we go. Honestly, that's something Karen Ann watches the People's Party because, you know, she likes to kind of keep an eye on the competition. She's very, you know, in a sense concerned because they got a lot of that vigor, you know, in a sense that the Libertarian Party should be having right now. And I do think it's there. I think the problem is we're such a large party. So the vigor that's there and all the excitement that's there gets kind of drowned out by the like mundaneness that's also there.
I think we lack real direction.
Sure.
Because like, if you ask, what would a better America look like? Like, what does that even, like we walk out tomorrow, I wake up, like, how do I know that something's different in America?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, we're so removed just as people from like,
yeah,
how many laws are actually on the book and how many laws talk to each other and how many like work together, and like a law in Maine affects a law in Colorado, and it's just like, it's a messy fucking system. And people are, it's not only it's messy, it's fucking boring. So like it is. So how do we message that and to make it fun again, you know? Because like even at my age 22, trying to get people like me excited and involved, like as soon as you start talking statistics, they don't want to hear it.
Like,
and like, it's just like, you're gonna list some shit at me, I don't care. And that's I think that's the progression of like how we receive information, especially nowadays. Like we hear about, I think someone just got shot. We hear about, I live in the city, it's fine. We hear about all these awful things that are happening to people.
Yeah, right around us every day. Oh man.
Oh my God, I'm the problem. I'm toxic. I get it now. Jeez. I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
It's fine. No. Yeah, I think we do need to get out there and engage people and let them know, like you're saying, you know.
Yeah.
The fact that there are people out there every single day in bad conditions, and as a political movement, you can't go vote for a president and all of a sudden now the things in your local community are cured and healed and over with. You know, like you said, the perfect America won't exist by just waking up one day and voting for the right person. It's going to exist by going out and doing it.
What does that look like though? Like, what's the tax rate in a perfect America? In a perfect America, how does our environment regulate itself? In a perfect America, what does our school system look like? And everyone has a new idea of what that's supposed to look like.
Exactly.
So like we are all rowing our boats as hard as we can in different directions. And that's why we're not moving. But if we can like envision just a perfect America doesn't have Biden and Trump in it. Like, that's just not an option anymore. That's my perfect America.
Those kinds of
We're like, that's it. It's just like our president is representative of the median age and like wage in this country. People don't have to question how they're going to give their kids a Christmas. That's a perfect America. And everything else is fluff and something to bicker about. But like, a perfect America is the one that I want to live in, that I feel proud to say I'm an American, that when I go outside the country, nobody's laughing at me anymore.
Sure.
And if we can just start rowing our boats towards that, we'd be blessed.
I think truly the key lies in localization ultimately, though, because
Always.
What you're saying, you know, everybody's rowing their boats in their own directions. It's because, like we even discussed before, everybody's so different from one another. You know, even though we all have similarities, we all have vast differences. So to say, you know, what's your idea of a perfect America? You and I are going to envision vastly different perfect Americas. So the only way to actually achieve that is to say, okay, well, we're going to remove all federal control, basically, and bring it all back down to the local area where, you know, like your town essentially is your perfect America. And, you know, you get a lot more control, and even engaging people your age and our age and the younger generation in general. The only way we're going to engage them politically is by helping remind them that locally you can make a legitimate difference. You can go get elected to your town board, to your city councils, to your, you know, all the things, and actually enact real change in your communities. You can legalize cannabis. You can get rid of stupid laws and arbitrary regulations on businesses. You can do a lot of these things actually that, you know, people make you believe you have to vote for a president to achieve, you know, and we can start making the federal government basically obsolete.
We have to prove, like, have you ever lived in a world that didn't have a federal government?
No, I mean, technically I do every day because I do not really follow the federal government.
I renounce them, and like, I'm so
but
excited for November because I'm gonna have a memory of when I did that. It's gonna be my 1-year anniversary since I renounced the government. But like, we're in this movement, we get it. But think about, I've lived my entire life with the federal government, and ever since I've had a job, they've just taken money out, and it's just been less. I remember the first time I found out about taxes, I was like, who? Taxes? Who? My check? What?
Yeah, what,
Uncle
my
Sam
money?
did not work those 40 hours with me, but he sure as hell had his cut. And then they just tell you, like, well, it's for the roads. And it's like, oh, well, I do like roads. I do need to go to work.
I don't know a single state that has good roads. Don't know a single state that has good roads.
Because, but here's the thing. They're like, oh, the roads suck because we don't pay enough.
Oh, yeah.
Stupid.
Sure. Well, stop going to war. Stop incarcerating innocent people. Stop, like,
if people had to see what their money was going to, I think they'd be a lot more apprehensive about paying their taxes. If they could like visualize because it just goes from your check, and then you don't got to think about it, and then the government pays for stuff for you.
It should be a voluntary
service. If we had to cut out the middleman, if you got to like on your taxes, I want to pay for schools, roads, and mental health, and then all your money went directly to that, would we not have a better society?
Yes, 1,000%.
1,000%. And like, if a community decides that they don't want street lamps, you're just gonna have fucking the dark all the time, and that's on you.
Walking around with like, a candle.
Why are people breaking into my house all the time? And then they'll figure out to turn the street lights on. You don't need somebody behind a shiny desk to tell you how to run your life, because like necessity breeds innovation. You're gonna make it happen. We're gonna have roads because you want your Amazon packages delivered to your house. But even so, roads are so fucking primitive. We've had roads for like years, and they're almost dirty. 200. They have oil stains and cracks and holes. Like, why can't we float yet? And it's because of government regulations. I'm convinced.
It truly is. Honestly, I honestly do not disagree with you at all.
We'd be teleporting to work.
Yes, because if the free market, which is just people and innovation, if that was allowed to just go, we would have technologies far superior to where we currently are. I mean,
yeah, the Jetsons lied to me, and I used to be mad at them, but then I realized the Jetsons weren't under this governmental. Did you ever hear about the government and the Jetsons?
No. Actually.
Now you know why. Now you know why there wasn't a government. They had flying cars.
They evolved.
No government. They were all anarchists.
Yes.
Fact check me. Go ahead, try. Go ahead, try. The person that made that show's dead. Go ahead, try.
The anarchist Jetsons. George was secretly an anarchist activist. You know, it's great.
That's the next caucus.
Yes.
It's the Jetsons caucus.
The
because
Jetsons
they're all
caucus. You're gonna be the leader. You're the chair of the Jetsons caucus.
Finally, we'll get some stuff done. Nothing done. It'll just be me pumping out memes about the Jetsons all day.
Hey, you know, if it progresses us towards that future, I'm all for it, because I agree.
If people just start asking questions, that's all I need.
I'm a student of history. I love history, and Tesla, during his time, had predicted we would be far superior than where we are now, and his understanding of science and technology, even back, you know, in such a primitive time overall, proves that we have been stifled in many regards, you know, and the fact that it's almost a known fact by now that the government itself is probably at least a decade or more ahead of the general public in technological advancement, you know, like, which is baloney in and of itself. If my tax dollars are funding like spaceships that look like flying saucers, you know, as many people have shown, like, if that's really where my tax dollars are going to, why don't we know? And why isn't that technology going to the general public too? You know,
the same reason we can't have guns, because if we had flying cars, they know we fucking leave.
Yeah, we would. If I had a flying saucer, I wouldn't be here.
I'd leave.
My family
like,
be in
Earth is ghetto. I'd fucking leave it. If I could get up there, I'd be gone.
Yeah, I agree. I've been dreaming of that since I was a kid, so I guess that's probably where it comes from. I've always thought I was an alien, so.
Welcome to the Libertarian Party. You're right at home.
Yep.
I think we're all interbred. Our species of ape was interbred with aliens.
Yep, and that's how the Libertarians existed.
In 500 years, these people will be the third largest party in the nation. I love that, though. I love that. Here's the thing, too. One, stop calling the Libertarian Party a third party, because we're a major party. Like, Absolutely. We fuck up national elections. We're major. Ask the Greens to ruin your election. They can't.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We're a major party. But then also, there's no way 3 parties represent 330 million Americans.
No.
There's no way.
They don't.
So, like, I'm excited for the new parties to establish and come up with them as much gusto and bring the Democrats and the Republicans down to size.
Yeah.
Because we're not going to do it by ourselves. Like, we can't.
We've done almost as much as we can do. There's a large group.
Not even. We get our shit together.
Yes.
We could do so much more.
That's what I was just going to say.
Really
There's a large group we can still bring in, but I'm saying as far as like 50 years of establishing ourselves as a party, we've done as much as we almost can do in that way.
Yeah.
It's the activism and the membership that we need to get ourselves fucking in check with. But I totally agree. I think it's super healthy for there to be a plethora of options. I think everybody should be represented at the table. Like
330 million political parties.
Yeah. That's anarchy.
Isn't it gorgeous?
I entirely agree. I think it's natural human evolution. You know, it's almost like a full circle, because we came from individualism to tribalism to nations, and it's back to like tribalism and now back to individualism. You know, it's kind of a natural progression. You know, technology has brought us there.
God bless technology. God bless technology. Ruins my life all the time. But like, I'd argue we live in anarchy now. And that's why I don't get why people say anarchy doesn't work. Because don't we, as like a world of 7.8 billion people, live in relative harmony under our own little like tribes and like have our own little rules, and like unless it's America, no one's really dying. And if America could just get their shit together, no one would die ever. So this is anarchy. It works. Like, people who want to be together will be together, and then people who don't like it will move. And like, that's the thing about immigration. as a community, as a tribe, as a nation, I am under no obligation to let other people into my country. But in that same token, immigration and like the sharing of ideas and cultures and experiences is what brings us together and makes us stronger. So to deny people entry, you're only hurting yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
you know?
absolutely. Yeah,
So,
and
like,
I mean, it's been natural human movement throughout the planet. Migration's been such a natural thing for literally thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years. To try to box it in and stop it because of invisible borders seems so arbitrary, you know, at some point. Especially, you know, like the arguments that get produced behind a lot of it, which is like, oh, well, assimilation waters down the culture and all these other things. But like, we used to celebrate that we were the melting pot. Like I again, student of history, that I remember that being brainwashed into my head.
You know, American culture is just ads and not enough people are talking about it. Like American culture is just people advertising you some shit. Like we have a whole fucking day about football and ads. Like that's American culture. So we're not missing out if someone wants to bring in some Thai food. Like, come on,
exactly.
calm the fuck down.
Like, I was going to say over here, if you didn't have immigration, you wouldn't have all the amazing choices of food. Like
honestly,
or music or clothing or art or like
America is the best export of entertainment because we are a melting pot.
Yes.
Because we have so many cultures coming together, what we produce translates across the globe.
Yes.
That's beautiful. We should be fostering that. And I think a lot of the arguments out of immigration, out of closed borders, are out of insecurity and fear. Because like we're never gonna run out of jobs. Like there's always work to do.
Oh God, there's millions of empty jobs.
There's so
right now
even
there's
if
60.9 million jobs available in America.
Yeah, and like even if we close down whole industries, like we stop the trucking industry and we automate it, someone's gonna have to repair those trucks. Someone's gonna have to build those trucks. Someone still has to unload those trucks. Someone has to load those trucks. Someone has to order the shit still. Like there's still jobs around the market. The market is a living, breathing, evolving thing. And when people don't understand the market, that's when they start to like subjugate it in ways that's gonna like fuck them off and fuck them over.
Absolutely.
So just like respect the market and she will provide it. Well, I'm one of those libertarians.
Even in your, even in your example, because some people will say, well, technically, if you went further and far enough down the line, every single one of those jobs you just said could be automated. But yeah, exactly. Because then the market becomes something we've never had before, which is humans actually like trading skills and, projects and arts and creativity and passions and like
things that machines can't do.
Things machines cannot do. Machines cannot write a beautiful 8-hour ballad, on piano that's separated into different stanzas, and like it can get close, but it doesn't have the human spirit behind it. Like
the
it
emotion.
Have that. Yes, exactly.
The emotion, the intent, the impact.
And that's what the market will then become, because that's what machines can't produce, and it
will let humans be humans. Yeah. And like, we're so stuck in like, we're stuck in
no
one wants to work. And I don't think people are like fully acknowledging the fact that, babe, you don't want a job. Nobody wants a job. And that's my argument against slavery. Like, even if you think slavery wasn't that bad, nobody wants to work and nobody wants to do it for free. So like, just that in of itself,
slavery wasn't that bad. There are really people.
Tons of people think. Yeah, it's like.
Right now?
Why do you think I want to jump ship from this movement? The things people say, and they'll inbox me some belligerent shit, and I can't tell if they're serious or they just want to talk to me.
Right. They're trying to get in a rise, or something. They're trying to get on one of your posts.
Y'all should see. Like, people get irritated that I post screenshots, but like, you should see the shit I don't post.
Oh sure.
Okay, you should see the weird shit I don't like. This is discretion. Same with my memes. Like, you think that was belligerent? There were 10 versions that I was like, this is for me and the feds. They'll know what I think about them.
That's awesome. You're over here like, hey Billy, this one's for you.
Okay, this is a secret that I'm gonna tell on a podcast for some reason.
Okay, here we go.
My whenever, sometimes you guys piss me off in like an argument, and I'll make a meme about you. Not you guys specifically, but
I
one.
understand what you mean.
And and nothing gives me more joy when they like and share a meme I made making fun of them specifically.
Yeah.
And like, just know that that's my little secret win of my last word. It's just like, look, that's awesome.
That's
You
beautiful.
shared it. Like and share. Go ahead. Go ahead. You don't remember the conversation we just had?
Yeah. That's hilarious.
That's my secret.
It's the most beautiful thing ever.
That is. I'm glad you shared that with us.
It's an art.
Tactical.
It's
Yeah,
what
I
I
was just
do
gonna
is
say.
an art.
It's tactical.
I'm playing the long game. Like, you guys have no idea. This is D4 chess, no 40 chess. You're
Oh
cut
yeah,
off.
it'll pop back up in their memories in like 5 years. They'll be like, hey,
Oh, yeah.
oh man.
And they'll never know. And now when this airs,
reshare
everyone
it.
watching it will be like, wait, did I do that?
Yeah, right. That's awesome. That's awesome.
I'm awful. I know. It's fine.
It's what
Someone
makes,
has to do it.
It's not awfulness. It's just brashness, right? Isn't that what they call it?
It's princess. I don't even know what to call it. You know, it's just unfiltered monarch bullshit.
How many accounts have you had now?
Ugh.
Princess. I was
Sis. I think I'm on 4. Princess's account 4. Because then I have Duchess now, and that one stayed up, but like my original Sarah Brooke is gone forever and dead. But then I have 3 backups now in case shit hits the fan, and one I use to antagonize the left.
That's awesome.
Secretly. So if you ever see some belligerent shit, because like I still want to be mean to them, but I don't want to like taint my movement.
Yeah.
So
right.
I gotta be secret. I'm just like, you government cucks.
Yeah.
So if you ever see just like a
massive
sock
troll.
account,
That's awesome.
That's me. Like, that's how I get it out. Cause I refuse to engage with you guys like that anymore. Cause I see how that reflects on all of us. So now I just have to lie and hide it. Like
You're in your closet memeing, you know, the left.
absolutely antagonizing them. I'm so mean. And that's why I know that like the things the me is saying can be said if it's just tactful, because I do it all the time, babe, and it's well received.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and there's a time and a place and a way, you know, for all
There's a
things.
way to do everything.
Absolutely.
But like, cheers to the movement.
Yeah, absolutely. And everybody out there, honestly. It takes all of us in all your own unique little quirky ways.
Well, and it's constantly growing and evolving too. I think that's what's the most beautiful thing about it right now.
Absolutely. I adore you guys. Like, I wake up in the morning, like, how am I going to make them smile today? So it's like, you're stuck with me. I've married you. And I know I can be a little dramatic at times, but it's just because I'm sad and mad and disappointed. I don't know what to say to make you guys see where I'm coming from. But like, I'm not going anywhere. I adore you guys.
That is good to hear, because I mean, at least for us, we do like to have, you know, people who are vocal and not afraid to stand on your ground. I don't think you should hide or back down even from the Libertarians, to be honest, because I think there's a level of accountability that needs to be held. I think there's a level of, you know, I guess, like, squishiness, as somebody said earlier, that has existed. Literally, I saw somebody use that for the Libertarian Party earlier. They said we've gotten squishy. Yeah, squishy.
It's that quarantine 15. I'm telling you. As soon as we get out, we won't be so squishy.
We exercise 6 days a week. Thank you very much.
I don't, and I'm suffering for it.
But you know, like, overall, like, we have to pick our hill and stand on it and be willing to die on it as a movement, because that's what it has to be worth to us, you know, and stop trying to play this middle ground. It hasn't gotten us anywhere for 50 years playing in the middle ground. It's gotten us absolutely nowhere. We look like jokes most of the time. And it's time as a movement that we really just say, hey, we're Libertarians. This is what we stand for. Here we are. And this is what we're going to get done. You know, like, that's all we can do.
2021 is the year of doing, you know?
Yes,
because like 2020 we were stuck in our houses. There wasn't much to happen. But now it's like, what else are you going to do?
Get out
like,
there.
I'm done talking.
Yeah, in all of that, I think with pumping up our local, communities and stuff like that, and building up our state parties, I think we need to ignite in every state and help them realize that every state is a swing state. Like, yes, if we get out of the mindset, well, I'm typically a red state and I'm typically a blue state, like, and well, this is a powerful swing state, and whatever, just like drop it. Every state is a swing state. Everybody's got their own opinions, and like, you don't have to vote because it's trending this way for your local elections or your state elections. But the more that the Libertarians actually get out and continue to get out and get the communities together, because that's what we need to do now that COVID shoved everybody in house. We need to try and pull them out. Yeah, get some vitamin D and C. Like, we can pull them back together, because as soon as you get a community together, then that's where the energy is shared and the ideas are shared, and like the torch is lit, and then everybody's talking about movement and doing something. And the more we keep igniting people to keep doing something and keep pulling them along, then we'll get somewhere.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Because like 47% of this nation doesn't vote. That means that's your neighbor, that's your best friend, that's your cousin who doesn't vote because they are just as fed up with the system as we are, but they just don't know what to do. Yeah. So if we can get the 47% of this nation on our side, we've just beat the 25% the duopoly has.
Yep.
Right.
Every state's a swing state.
Right. Well, yeah, and then realize, like, the only way that you can get those people to realize that is by actually doing stuff, because they feel like they're not being represented. Like, oh, well, Libertarians aren't doing anything. The Green Party's not really doing anything, so nobody's going anywhere. And the Republicans and Democrats have like all the money in the world to make the biggest stink in the 1 year that they care. And
which they only do care.
Right. Exactly. If we can like keep the
momentum of it.
Yes, and the engine running, that every year is an election year, and like 2021 is an important year, especially because the mandates are dropping, people are getting out, they're starting to travel, they're starting to like live a different life, kind of. They're starting to see the veil through the government control and everything. And it's just our year to like really pummel it, because 2022 is going to be a big year for voting in so many ways. So many local elections, and then 2024 is right around the corner practically. And you just got to keep it like driving like you're going down a hill, because you're going to have to go right back up when we get to the election year.
Yeah, but we already have the momentum from going downhill, So it's like, what a beautiful way. I want that to be like the ending statement, because that speech just like gave me, like, reignited my fire, because that's exactly what we need to do. Yeah, that was perfect. That was perfect. I love it. That's it. I can't top it.
Well, we have talked for an hour anyway, and we really do appreciate you coming on tonight, Sarah.
Yeah, it's been very cool.
It has been really cool talking to you. We have been watching you for a long time, just so you're aware. There are people out there who appreciate what you're doing, so keep that in mind.